this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The fallout from Jimmy Kimmel's comments about Charlie Kirk and the sudden response from ABC have shaken up more than just late-night television. It may mark a turning point for media, politics, and free speech in America. When Kimmel made a monologue accusing the MAGA gang of trying to politically exploit the murder of Charlie Kirk, saying they were desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it, the reaction was swift and intense. ABC and its parent company Disney moved to suspend Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely, just days later. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. What precipitated that decision was a cascade of public, private, and regulatory pressure. First, Kimmel's remarks themselves drew criticism from conservative media figures, political actors, and others who argued that he was making unsubstantiated connections between Charlie Kirk's assassin and the MAGA movement, particularly before all the evidence was public. The man charged with killing Kirk, Tyler Robinson, had in text messages expressed opposition to Kirk rather than alignment and cited Kirk's hatred as a motivating factor. Kimmel's monologues on Monday and Tuesday before the suspension emphasized both the tragedy and the controversy over how parts of the political right responded, including what he saw as attempts to spin the narrative. Then came regulatory pressure. Brendan Carr, chairman of the Federal Communications Commission (FCC), publicly voiced his disapproval and raised the possibility of regulatory consequences for ABC and Disney, including that broadcasters have obligations via their FCC licenses to serve the public interest. He criticized Kimmel's remarks as misleading, saying the network might be held accountable. At the same time, several major ABC affiliate station groups, notably Nexstar Media Group and Sinclair Broadcast Group, announced they would drop Jimmy Kimmel Live from their lineups for the foreseeable future. Nexstar declared the comments offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse. ABC's decision to suspend the show came in the wake of those affiliate preemptions and under what many believed was direct or indirect pressure from regulators. On September 17, 2025, ABC announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live would be halted indefinitely. The network did not immediately issue a detailed public justification beyond saying the show would be preempted indefinitely. The aftermath has included a fierce debate over free speech, the proper boundaries of satire, and the role of political pressure in decisions about what is or is not allowed on air. Democrats and civil liberties advocates have expressed alarm. They argue that this situation is a dangerous precedent. When regulatory bodies or political appointees threaten penalties or license revocations, networks may self-censor in order to avoid risk. Former President Barack Obama has weighed in, warning that cancel culture has taken on a more coercive dimension, saying the current administration has routinely threatened regulatory action, unless media companies muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. On the other side, many conservatives have applauded the cancellation or suspension, saying Kimmel went too far, that his comments were unfounded or unfair, and that broadcasters have a responsibility to reflect community standards. Some of the turbulence has taken place at the affiliate level. Nexstar, which owns dozens of ABC-affiliated stations, pulled the show ahead of ABC's corporate decision. Sinclair, another large station group, also declined to air it in many markets and inserted alternative programming. Their decisions raised questions about local affiliates' influence on national programming, and whether they are being pressured by viewers, political actors, or regulators to act in certain ways. Some said they expected Kimmel to apologize. Some even suggested donations to Kirk's family, or to Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, as part of conditions for returning the show to air. Behind the scenes, ABC and Disney executives faced a tough balancing act. On one hand, there is the value of creative freedom, of having a late-night show host who speaks plainly, even harshly, about political controversy. On the other, there is shareholder and regulatory risk, advertiser reactions, affiliate relations, as well as potential legal liability. According to reports, ABC's decision came after discussions among Disney CEO Robert Iger and TV division head Dana Walden. Public reaction has been visceral. In Hollywood, Among entertainers, among writers' guilds, unions, there has been strong support for Kimmel, or at least strong concern about what his suspension means for freedom of the press. Some late-night hosts have spoken out. Others have used satire to underscore how fragile those protections may be. Protests, especially among free speech advocates, point to broader worries that public media is becoming increasingly subject to political whims rather than norms of fair regulation. Meanwhile, in conservative circles, reactions have ranged from vindication to further demands. Some see this as overdue consequences for what they regard as irresponsible or politically motivated commentary. Others view it as evidence that the political left still uses its platform in one-sided ways, and that there must be consequences when speech is perceived to cross certain lines. Legal scholars have begun to weigh in. Some contend that regulators threatening revocation of broadcast licenses for content they find objectionable edges into dangerous constitutional territory. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech, including dissent or criticism of public figures, but the involvement of a governmental body like the FCC in prompting a broadcaster's pullback raises questions about when speech becomes punishable versus when speech is just unpopular or controversial. The line is historically thorny in U.S. jurisprudence. As of now, the future of Jimmy Kimmel Live is uncertain. There is no public timeline for when or if it will resume. The crew reportedly has not received solid details from ABC about return or how long the suspension may last. Some affiliates have said they would only bring it back if certain conditions, perhaps a public apology or other corrective measures, are met. ABC has not fully explained in detail what metrics or actions would persuade them to reinstate the show. The network's silence around those specifics has only intensified speculation about how much power regulators and political actors can exert indirectly via affiliates or public pressure. What this situation illuminates is not just one comedian's moment of controversy, but a larger tension. How media organizations navigate free speech, political polarization, regulatory oversight, and business risk in an era when every comment can be amplified, dissected, and weaponized. The Kimmel ABC incident seems destined to become a case study. For conservatives, a victory. For free speech advocates, a warning. And for media executives, a reminder of how precarious the balance is between creative license and institutional survival. What has made the Jimmy Kimmel situation even more remarkable is the way it has crystallized an already simmering divide between the entertainment industry and political institutions. For decades, late-night television has been a forum for comedians to poke at politicians, highlight hypocrisy, and sometimes veer into direct criticism of ideological movements. Kimmel himself, like his counterparts Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers, built a reputation not just on celebrity interviews, but on politically charged commentary. Yet the suspension has forced many within Hollywood to ask whether satire is still safe terrain, or whether networks, under corporate and regulatory pressure, will begin placing invisible guardrails around what their stars can say. The uncertainty has sparked a new level of solidarity among other performers. Writers who craft material for Kimmel's show and even competitors from rival networks are voicing concern that if his words can provoke not just backlash but outright cancellation, then their own creative space is under threat as well. This is not only a cultural battle but a workplace one, since unions that represent late-night staff are now considering public statements that frame the suspension as a labor issue. From their perspective, crews who rely on a stable show schedule are the first to suffer when executives make abrupt decisions to cancel or pause programming in response to outside pressure. Another dimension is the commercial one. Advertisers that had invested in Kimmel's time slot now face uncertainty about whether their campaigns will run as planned or whether they will be shifted to other ABC programming. The fallout may impact how advertisers weigh risk in politically charged shows in the future. For brands wary of controversy, this situation could encourage migration to safer content, while others may see value in standing behind outspoken talent to signal support for free speech. The choices made in the coming weeks will shape the financial incentives that drive what kind of comedy gets produced on television. Perhaps the most intriguing ripple effect is international. Media organizations outside the United States are following the story closely because it highlights the tension between political power and broadcast independence. In Europe and Canada, where regulations around public interest broadcasting also exist, commentators are weighing in on whether such a scenario could unfold there, or whether America's unique polarization makes it more volatile. In parts of Asia and Latin America, where governments often hold significant sway over broadcasters, Kimmel's case is being interpreted as a cautionary tale of how, even in a democracy, speech can be chilled when politics collides with entertainment. As the days turn into weeks without a resolution, the situation has become more than a dispute over one host's remarks. It now represents a test case for how far a government can lean on corporations to act in ways that may conflict with expressive freedoms, and how corporations calculate their priorities when caught between public outrage, political scrutiny, and the loyalty of their creative talent. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Jimmy Kimmel's ABC situation after Charlie Kirk's comments? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.